What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And today we have an update in regards to the Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov fight that happened last Saturday. And this is a video about, in particular, Eric Nicksick's reaction to, well, what I thought was simply the late stoppage by referee Mark Smith. Now, today he released a video on his podcast giving a little bit more context as to why he got so upset. And it was quite notable. I understand Chris Curtis's frustration for a number of reasons, but Eric Nicksick's frustration was notable because he's usually very calm, cool, has a great relationship, it seems, with everybody at the UFC. This is also Justin James, my co-host, coach at Extreme Couture, so Justin knows him well. And I'm sure Justin can speak on this better than I can, because he's had a very long relationship with Eric Nicksick and speaks very highly of him. But Eric Nicksick gives a little bit more context as to why he got so upset. And this isn't just a one-time thing. This is a pattern of behavior and issues that he has had with referee Mark Smith over the years. And I'm going to let Eric Nicksick explain in this video exactly what he was so upset about. It's not just the stoppage. This is very interesting when you hear this. And this is something that I mentioned in my recap as well. There was the groin shot and the eye poke. At what point do you have to take a point away? Because you have to also ask, did that eye poke that Kopylov landed on Chris Curtis affect his vision in round 3? Is that part of the reason why Kopylov started landing more? So should there have been a point deduction? You know, whether or not that eye poke was intentional or not, it likely did something. I don't know for sure, but I have to imagine it likely did something to compromise Chris Curtis. And that's why we saw the abrupt change, because Chris Curtis was reading those strikes in round 2. Is that a guarantee that that's the case? I don't know. But anyways, let's hear from Eric Nicksick, and he'll give more context. Very interesting.
Yeah. But it wasn't the stoppage that I'm mad about. It was the fact that prior to the fight, the referee comes in and asks, do you have any questions or concerns? Chris Curtis went on and said, this guy will find ways to stall. What are you going to do if and when he does stall? And how are you going to score it? Or how are you going to handle that?
Now, again, as Eric goes on, he does not explain exactly what was said. I think he's intentionally keeping that conversation confidential, probably for the benefit of Mark Smith, to keep, as I imagine those conversations are normally confidential. Again, this is something that we can run by Justin when he's back on the show, just to see if that is the case. But that's what I imagine. Eric Nicksick is a stand-up guy. That makes sense to me. But anyways, he goes on to talk about being disappointed as whatever was discussed did not go down. So check this out.
We laid out the game plan on how we're going to attack and approach the game plan. That round 1 was going to be broken up into 2 segments. For us, round 1 was going to be rounds 1 and 2. The way that Chris fights, he starts slow, so I wanted him to pick up the pace. The pace was going to pick up the second half of round 1 into round 2.
Just going to fast forward this part a little bit. This is just the pacing.
That's what I'm pissed off about. You never get 3 timeouts in a fucking fight.
And now when he's talking about the 3 timeouts, he's talking about, so there was one point where Roman Kopylov spit out his mouth guard. They put it back in, but that was a pretty quick break. He put it back in and they almost immediately started up again. Then you had the groin shot, I believe in round 1 or 2. I can't remember exactly, but there was a break in the action. They went back to work. And then you had the eye poke. So that's what he's talking about. He's saying, hey, basically, effectively, he got 3 timeouts. And the interesting bit is that they picked up on this pattern, apparently, that Roman Kopylov follows in a lot of his fights, and let Mark Smith know and said, what are you going to do? And I guess he had said that he would do something. He didn't do that thing, whatever it was. And this is his point of frustration.
So, number 1, spit his mouthpiece out. How? Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Hold on. Let me get your mouthpiece. That wasn't too bad. All right. Groin strike. Okay. Time. Now, this is, remember, when the momentum was where Chris was going downhill, right? You guys hear me yelling Oregon, no huddle, keep that fucking offense on the field and keep the pressure, right?
Yeah.
When he's saying Chris is going downhill, by the way, just to clarify, I don't think it means that things were going worse. That's when Chris was gaining momentum. So he's saying downhill, like he was picking up momentum and doing better and better. This is the point where he was starting to read Kopylov very well. And a lot of Kopylov's very quick combinations weren't landing, or he was catching him in the guard.
Yep. Then the eye poke. Calmly, said to Mark, hey, that is 2 infractions in a row in this round. Where's the point?
Yeah.
And he looks back at myself and Nate, and he's like, Mark, let me fucking handle. Okay. But we told you that this was going to happen prior. And you gave us an answer of what you would do to handle it, and you're not doing what you said to handle it. That's what we were pissed off about. Right? So the stoppage, questionable. If you're any fighter in the world, knowing that there's 1 second left and the guy walks away, there's not a follow-up punch. He's not coming in to kill, whatever. The chances are we're going to lose on the scorecard now. And I get that. In the moment, I felt we were up 2 rounds. I felt we were up rounds 1 and round 2. Now looking back, we weren't. We would have lost the decision. Okay. It is what it is. You decided to stop the fight with 1 second left when there was no more damage that was going to be taken. When 2 guys poured their heart and soul out for 15 minutes and gave us a war. If you've ever done your homework and watched a Chris Curtis fight, King of Combat, that's what you get. Let the motherfucker go out on his shield, bro. Right? That was some bitch shit. You didn't have to stop the fight on that moment. But that's not what we're mad about. Anytime that I see Mark Smith walk in the back and say, I got your fight, this sounds shitty to say, but I think to myself, we're now fighting 2 people, not 1.
So I'm going to pause it there. What he goes on to say after this is he talks about another fight. He's saying that this is a pattern that has occurred over the years. There was another fight that he references where he had a similar conversation with the referee Mark Smith, and Mark Smith said he would do one thing when they would go out and fight based on the tendency of one of their opponents, and he didn't do that thing. So I think this is one of the most clear, calm, kind of rational perspectives you could take. And of course, we expect nothing less from Eric Nicksick. And I think he's also making a point too about the stoppage that has enraged so many people. He's kind of letting him off the hook on the stoppage, saying, look, you should have let him go out on your shield, but it's okay. And we would have lost the decision anyways. So fair, we're going to let that slide, but it's something deeper, and it's something that is a repetitive pattern. And I think he's totally justified, but this makes way more sense to me in terms of his outrage, because I never really see Eric Nicksick react that way. He usually will accept whatever goes down, take it on the chin, and always defending his fighters and doing his best, but keeping that calm perspective throughout. And he lost his cool. This is why. And I think it makes a lot of sense. I'd love to hear referee Mark Smith's response to this. Maybe he has a perspective as well. I did hear Dominic Cruz on an interview on Ariel's show, I believe today or yesterday, say that to Mark Smith's credit, he came over and asked Dom, hey, did I do the right thing? Something along those lines. He checks in with him to get feedback to see if he's doing a good job or if there's any way that he can improve. So you got to give him credit there. I think he acknowledges that there are some issues. However, I think that acknowledgement it sounded like, according to Dominic Cruz, limited to the stoppage, not to the other piece, not to saying one thing and doing another. So this is very interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who do you side with here? I'm going to assume you're going to side with Eric Nicksick, of course, until we hear the other side from the referee. Hit that like button if you like this video. Make sure to click subscribe if you want to see more from the 10-7 MMA channel. And that's it. I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.